That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today I'm going to talk about 3 concrete ways to make your date nights go better, because people always tell me that they really appreciate the practical tips episodes. And before that, I will tell you to subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was on why does giving a gift go so poorly to your avoidant partner. So you find the perfect gift and your avoidant partner acts like a deer in the headlights or says something negative. And if you subscribe, you get that episode as well as over 200 extra episodes. Okay, so 3 concrete ways to make your date nights go better. The first one is not to expect sex. I mean, let me be real with you. If a woman that is past 35 years old is going out later than usual, having a drink and a big dinner, she's not going to want to have sex, and she's going to feel exhausted, and she's going to be worried about what time she gets up the next day. Nighttime sex is bad for many, many women, especially as they age. Testosterone peaks around 7 a.m. for both genders. And that is the opposite of, like 10, 11 p.m. or midnight or whatever. It really is very difficult for many women to even want to go on date night if they think that it's going to end with pressure to have sex. And so they don't end up doing the romantic things that could build their interest and their closeness and their connection, because in the short term, they don't want to deal with sex when they're not feeling it and they are tired and they're completely not in the mood and they think it's going to go poorly. I have long said that morning sex is better for a lot of women, and that is the truth. And when the kids are back in school, as they are now, and out of the house, and so many people telecommute, then the afternoon or midday or mid-morning or after the kids are out of the house is a lot better for many women. And if your date nights are fraught with pressure, she is not going to want to go on them. And then over time, you'll end up more disconnected and less likely to have any kind of sex, ironically. The next concrete way is to make all the plans. Like, as the man, if you are listening to this, you are more likely the man. It's less than half women, more than half men that listen to this. Not much more, but it is more. And you could also send this to your husband. Women do not feel romantic if they've made plans. I mean, if you want to make plans to surprise your husband, that's great. I do that stuff all the time. I like to pick the restaurant, pick what we do just as often. But if that's not your choice and it's always the default that you make plans because otherwise nobody makes plans, you make the date night because otherwise nobody makes the date night, you're the one to call the sitter every time. That does not feel romantic. That feels like he doesn't even want to go. And this is what women complain about in my office all the time, is they went on a date night, but since they planned the whole thing, they just felt like it was another child activity almost, like planning a dance class, or camp sign up or something like that. It's the opposite of romantic. So most women want to feel pursued. Even the avoidant ones want to feel that they don't have to do the heavy lifting for date night, because otherwise it doesn't really feel like a date. That's not how the dates probably used to go when you were actually dating. So if there is some issue where you have ADHD or you have difficulty organizing, just put on your calendar every month, a certain day, you reach out to the sitters, you get the numbers of the sitters from her if you have to, you reach out to them, and that's what you do every single month. And then you look on a website or on social media, Google best restaurants near me, best new restaurants near me, go to a different place every time, go to something that has been positively reviewed and that is thought to be fun, and then you will have planned a date. I mean, those are the 2 main parts, getting the sitter if necessary, planning the date, and then you tell her, this is the day, and you look at the calendar before and you figure out what is a Friday or a Saturday night or a Thursday night, even whatever, that you don't have anything to do. So do that work the same as you would have when you were dating. And if you say that there are no days on the calendar and she's so anxious about planning, well, you already should be in couples counseling, because that is not a sustainable way to live. If you have 0 Fridays or Saturdays coming up, 0, then that needs to be a different discussion. I wanted to plan something and I still want to, but I don't see any open days on the calendar at all. And so can you help me, understand, is this the sort of thing that if I plan something that we could get our kids to carpool to whatever it is that they're doing on the calendar, or some of these things could be missed, or maybe we could just put a recurring monthly date night on the calendar. This would still be you talking, and then we won't have to worry about it because we'll always have something. And then we could plan around that. And if you cannot have that discussion because you or she are too anxious or too rigid or what have you, then you need to get into couples therapy for real. And the next way to make sure that date night goes well is not to talk about logistics or kids on the date night. This is an opportunity to use things like my 100 date night questions, which is on drpsychmom.com, and I can link it in the description, or basically anything where you're talking about yourselves, your hopes, your dreams, your goals, your positive memories, which is called romantic nostalgia. Literally anything that is not boring or about the children, because those children conversations, especially with a glass of wine, they could devolve into your wife crying, and that is not a good date night. Oh my God, they're getting so much older. Like, I understand she's processing her feelings, but that's not going to be a fun romantic date night for her. And you know what? Now, while I'm at it, I could talk more about that, but I would rather actually give you an extra bonus tip, which is don't get wasted. So many marital problems are actually due to people who will not admit that they drink too much. And I've seen this more and more over the years. I am so convinced that if people stop drinking, a lot of their marital problems would go away. It's kind of like this covert contract that they have with each other that neither one is going to bring up the other one's drinking too much because they don't want to stop. And because they're dependent on it to have a good time and to basically self-medicate depression and anxiety. You don't have to drink every day in order for it to be a self-medication. If you cannot enjoy yourself socially, or you cannot, quote, relax without alcohol in a social environment or a date environment, that's an issue. And you should be talking to an individual therapist about that. Many, many people are struggling with their date nights and their regular nightly conversations going very poorly because they're drunk. And they don't think they're drunk. They usually have a cute little name like they're buzzed, you're drunk, you're drunk. You don't have to be falling down. If your definition of drunk is yelling and falling down and acting crazy, that's too drunk. And just if you wouldn't drive, and some people do drive, and that's even worse. That's like terrible, because you're trying to convince yourself that you're not drunk. So then you say, oh, if I could still drive, then I'm not drunk, but you're actually driving drunk. Either way, when you are drinking, your inhibitions are down. You're likelier to say things that you regret. You're likelier to say things you don't even really mean. And then because you don't want to say that you have an alcohol problem, then you have to redouble. You have to regroup in the morning and face save and say that you did really mean it. Because you don't want to say, actually, I drink and I just do crazy shit and I say crazy shit, because that sounds like you have a real problem and you don't want to have a real problem. So many date nights go awry and people end up having these big issues. Never mind that some women do want to have sex after date night and the guy can't because he drank too much. And as you get older, that really impacts your ability to get and stay hard and to perform sexually. Not to mention that it's disgusting when somebody is snoring afterwards and just seems drunk. And so basically, if you take alcohol out of date night, or you stick to one drink, actually one drink, like really one drink, not one drink, and then you say, oh, we could have another drink, then date night may be completely transformed. You could have like a totally different time where you're actually present for date night, and you know that you're not going to get into any massive crazy fights, which in and of itself is wonderful. So to recap, we don't have to recap because this is a podcast, you could rewind. So to give you like an overarching umbrella here, these things have to be mindfully done. A lot of people go on date night. It's not intentional. It's not planned. It's not mindful. It's not careful. And with your relationship, you're supposed to be careful. This is supposed to be the most important person to you. You know, a date night with your spouse is supposed to be something that is mindfully and attentively planned for. So that's everything from the actual planning to the conversation to understanding how to stop potential bad things from happening, like a fight about sex or like fighting because you're drunk or what have you. And so many people are doing these date nights haphazardly, and then they're actually hurting the relationship. They're not helping. It just feels like another time of disconnection, another time of resentment. And that is, the date night is, it's supposed to be something that's connecting and that makes both people remember why they're together in the first place, that they're not just parents, they're not just like running basically a childcare business, as I always say, and they are two human beings that love each other. And the way to make those nice feelings emerge is to really try. And these tips can really help you try. Now, on the other end, like these are obviously for the man, you know, he's got to plan it. And he's got to not push for sex. And I mean, he's got to not drink, but also she has to not drink. Okay, fine. But the point is that if you, and then he's, and she, well, all right, two of them are for the man, two of them are both. She's got, well, you know what? I will say actually that's not true, because if he plans a date night, implicitly I'm saying that she should say, and now I'll say it explicitly, she should not say, no, actually the next 45 Saturdays are booked. No, that means you're anxious. Get into therapy. You know, if you cannot set aside one Saturday night to spend with your husband, then you have an overscheduling, overfunctioning problem. You know, and so that's going to destroy your relationship over time. So that one is also complicit. And also, if he plans something, be happy, act excited, like if a friend plans something, not like this is gonna mess up my week or something like that. And if you can have sex and if you can get into the mood, then do. But as I said, many women cannot. But try to do it the next morning. Try to do it that week, if not the next morning. Try to get into a headspace where responsive desire can kick in because you had a good time. And so my point is both partners here, and the man does have to schedule it, but the woman has to let him schedule it. But both partners overall do have to try to mindfully and attentively attend to their relationship in the same ways they attend to their relationship with their kids. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this pragmatic episode. And as always, if you need a therapist or a coach, reach out to our practice, Best Life Behavioral Health. And I have great people working for me. Just hired a sex therapist. I hired like so many good people, and we work everywhere. And just reach out always, Samantha at drpsychmom.com. Talk to y'all soon.